Let's get a word from our friend Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force. Afternoon to you, Tony. I don't know if you heard, but I said right at the beginning there, I mean, I think most of us would sort of assumed that your mobile phone would be taken and inspected the minute you landed in Dover, but apparently not.
Yes, I was a bit surprised by this story. I mean, as you know, I've been out of the Border Force for a long time now, but my understanding is that all people arriving on small boats into the UK are arrested, either under Section 24 for a prosecution or under administrative powers, and that therefore you have already got powers in place to seize articles. These powers are being pronounced as pre-arrest powers, so I can see they'll be more valuable perhaps in country where you haven't got grounds to arrest somebody who might not be an illegal immigrant, for example, but may have a mobile device or a SIM card on them that might be a human smuggler. I think it's all part of their strategy to try and smash the gangs, if you like, and get evidence against smugglers. But in terms of actually, you know, deterring migrants from coming across on a small boat, as you know, many of them destroy their mobile phones anyway.
That's true, yes.
Before they get here. And I'm not sure that this is going to stop the boats. I can see why they're doing it. And it is a symptom of the Border Security, Immigration and Asylum Act, Ian, which did become law last month and is now, these provisions take effect today. So I think that's why it's being briefed out as a, you know, as a toughening up. It's a toughening up in terms of investigations for human smuggling. But in terms of stopping the boats, I'm not persuaded this is going to make much difference.
I mean, I hear everything you say there, Tony, and I agree as well. You would just think that if somebody does come across on a boat and they land on the shores of this country and they do have a mobile with them, it would just be procedure that, you know, you don't know who the person is, you've got no idea what their name is, you don't know what country they've come from, they could tell you, it may not be true. It would be just standard practice to take the phone, you know, you don't have to pin anybody down, just automatically take the phone, like you would in so many other areas of illegal activity. The police would look at your mobile device or your tablet, whatever. We see it all the time with social media posts. And you might be able to glean some information from that. You'd think that would just happen, but apparently not. Well, we'll watch this space to see if they have any success with it. It is worth talking about another couple of failures in the system, Tony. The Home Office, as I mentioned, facing embarrassment after a twice deported Albanian burglar taunts authorities from a bar in Mayfair while smoking a shisha surrounded by burlesque dancers. I mean, seriously?
Yeah, from what I can understand from that story, and I've only, you know, read what you've read about him, he's in the appeals system, Ian. We have discussed, in other words, he is in breach. We would deport him if we could. He's claimed asylum, which has been refused. But as we discussed before, there's a 54-week delay in hearing asylum appeals, and we can't deport people whilst their appeal is still pending. So whilst he remains in that system, unless his appeal is expedited, then I'm afraid there's not very much that the Home Office can do about removing him.
It's that speed, isn't it? The speed with which these things don't happen, and the impediment process along the way, which rather brings us to this. Go on, do carry on, Tony.
No, I was just going to say, Ian, that is a worry because the Ministry of Justice are responsible for the appeals system thus far, not the Home Office. So we quite often point the finger at the Home Office, which is my old firm. But actually, if you do refuse someone really, really quickly, even within a couple, there's still a very, very long wait. So I'm hoping the new Home Secretary, having come from Justice into the Home Office, can do something about that. And let's get this end-to-end process speeded up. That says what she's going to do. But I just think that means getting these appeals dealt with a lot more quickly than they are. Otherwise, we're going to see more cases like this guy. I
mean, I know, you know, we're not a dictatorship. We have systems in place for good reason. Prime Ministers don't just wake up and go, right, we're going to change the entire system now. You know, you put it through a few hoops and hurdles before you can just autonomously make those decisions, even if you are the Prime Minister. That they can, of course, have, you know, massive influence on what happens. But things like this, and the story of Lord Justice Bean, who's, you know, always criticised as a bit of a left-leaning judge. I don't know whether that's fair or not. He was the one that presided over the Epping Hotel, the Bell Hotel. In fairness to him, he wasn't presiding over the rights and wrongs of whether migrants should live in your postcode or not. It was about the legality of the terms of use of the hotel, of course. So we can't blame him for that bit because he wasn't trying it on a moral basis about immigration. But there is a case where apparently he's blocking evictions from some of those when departure orders have been put in place. And you think, well, how does that happen? If there's a departure order in place, how does it then again go back to another judge? I assume the judge goes, well, you know, it might be right to let this person go, but you haven't done the correct paperwork or something like that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's another thing we've spoken is judicial intervention in the process, and this is another symptom of that, where we do see that it's very common now for those that would support migrants, and knocking them. Of course, there are plenty of people that want to support migrants and asylum seekers will take to the courts with a judicial review action against some act or omission taken by the Home Office, and that has become almost standard practice now. It's a huge industry, asylum and immigration law. There are a huge number of lawyers out there who can access judges. The judges will apply the law in the way they see fit. The problem we've got in the Border Force and in the Home Office is that, you know, we cannot put the Home Secretary in contempt of court. If we do anything, Ian, anything that might go against a judgment like that, then you can bet your bottom dollar that whichever official has done that will be hauled over the coals immediately for potentially putting the Home Secretary and the Home Office in contempt of court. So it does go back to the system about what are we allowing, you know, when are we going to allow judicial reviews to take place? How firm is our judicial process? How strong is the democratic government in being able to do some of the things that it wants to do without being challenged, you know, all the time in the courts, which, as you say, just quite often goes against public opinion and goes against sometimes even what the government wants to do.
Absolutely spot on. Tony, great to have you with us as ever. Happy New Year. Thank you for coming on. Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force. And in fact, there are quite clear cases where judges make wacky decisions. But I do have a sympathy with some judges, and I'll come back to why they shouldn't ever be in this position in a moment. But if a lawyer looks at a client's case where the client has been told, right, you're going to be deported, and the lawyer says, this is not correct because you can't deport my client because of this, this or this, and it might even be an administrative reason, then it goes to a court. Now, the judge has only got one choice in the example I'm giving, and that the choice is to work out whether the law has been correctly implemented. And if the law hasn't been correctly implemented in connection with someone's deportation, then the judge can't go, yeah, it's fine, if it's not fine, because there's no point in having a judge otherwise. You know, judges do make those nuanced and incredibly complicated decisions. If it's about, right, the paperwork says you've got to do A, B, C, D and E, and the application to deport someone has only gone up as far as A and B, then the judge has no choice but to go, well, no, you haven't done it properly, so you can't deport the person. It's not about being left-leaning. My point is this, that it shouldn't get to the judge in the first place. If somebody has gone through the mill and they've got it absolutely bang on and the paperwork is there, why are we dilly-dallying, taking it back to another court and saying, no, if you've got to somehow tick this A, B, C, D box or whatever the heck it is, change the boxes. You know you've got a wronging on your hands, all the evidence is there, that's already been established, and this person is going to be deported. You don't think, well, actually, there's another 7 appeal processes. You can go through whatever you like. You can keep it going forever, years in some cases. 0344 499 1000. Your thoughts on that? This one comes in from Anthony, who says, if Starmer had 5% of the backbone that Trump has, we would be in a better place. Starmer's latest TV interview shows he still thinks of us Reform voters, as far right, and quite frankly, we are totally sick of it now. I genuinely think that, and this would be extraordinary, bearing in mind Starmer's a lot of things. He's not stupid, you know, he's a senior lawyer and was for many years. So you have to extrapolate from that. He's obviously not stupid. But sometimes intelligent people really are stupid, and that's the point. So, yeah, he might have, I'm sure he's probably quite handy on a pub quiz if the issue was human rights laws. Maybe he's good at that. And I'm pretty sure he knows Arsenal quite well, his team. I get that. But actually, when you consider when Starmer came in, now not last year, the year before, 2024 in July, we all thought he's got a grand plan. I mean, who wouldn't have a grand plan when you've been in opposition for 14 years and you've been running your own party for 5 of them? You'd hit the ground flipping running, wouldn't you? And he didn't have a plan, and they weren't very good. He genuinely thought not being the Tories was enough to make him popular. And so did the people around him, and so did all those other Labour MPs. We're not the Tories, therefore what can go wrong? Well, what can go wrong is that you've got no ideology, no philosophy, no direction, no template, no grounding, no idea with what you're going to do. That's what went wrong. And the same with all of this as well, that there is an absolute problem here with his belief on reform voters and reform as a party is that this country will never go there. They won't really do it. Why are you saying that, Keir? All the opinion polls are saying otherwise. Even if you're a Labour supporter, that should be acknowledged and taken very seriously. Don't worry, kids. We'll wait till May the 7th and see what happens. 17 weeks away, those local elections. It's going to be interesting. Mark